with our 9th contestant, Barbara Joy Jones.
Hello everybody, my name is Barbara Joy Jones and I represent Georgia UCOM. My case is all team the colicky infant. Alright, chief complaint, we have a 6-week-old baby girl. She comes in colicky, emesis, explosive diarrhea. You can't even put her down for more than 2 hours. Now I'm not a parent, but not being able to sleep for 6 weeks sounds exhausting and like torture. So she's very irritable. Birthing history, 34-year-old white female. She has a 4-year-old daughter already. This is her second baby. Uneventful pregnancy, uneventful delivery, but baby has plagiocephaly and right torticollis due to her in utero position, and immediately had some latching difficulties. So, my attending Mark Morris knew that I had an interest in osteopathy in the cranial field, so he took me on a home visit to visit his infant. When we first walked in, the first thing I noticed, the mother feeding the baby, was this clucking sound. And most of the milk was drooping down to her chin. She also had elevated, high-riding shoulders that eclipsed the view of her neck. She was just very rigid. On physical exam, I noticed the right torticollis that transitioned into a C-shaped dextroscoliosis. She also had negligible mobility in her shoulder girdles, her pelvis, and her thorax. She was just a very rigid baby. I also saw that she had a high-riding stiff tongue. So, where do we look to find dysfunction in all these cranial nerves? We all know that the birthing process can be very traumatic to the skull, so I decided to look at the cranial base. So as you see here is the jugular foramen, where the occiput and the temporal bone meets, through which cranial nerves 9, 10, and 11 course. And just medial to the occipital condyles, we have the hypoglossal canal, through which, if you have condylar compression, you can get the hypoglossal nerve impingement. So if we recall from anatomy, cranial nerve 9, we can get a little bit of dysphagia. Cranial nerve 10, the vagus, it goes everywhere and causes havoc everywhere it goes. But in this case, it caused GI upset, the emesis, and the colic. Cranial nerve 11 is motor to the sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius, hence the high-riding shoulders and that right torticollis. Cranial nerve 12 is the hypoglossal nerve, and it's motor to the tongue, hence the high-riding tongue and the nursing suckling issues. So, this is a very angry, stiff baby. From our findings, I came up with a treatment plan, and I asked Dr. Morris for his approval, and with that, I proceeded with my treatment. So, in this case right here, I am actually doing direct myofascial release to the shoulder girdles. I then continued to the pelvis, and then I went to the cervical-thoracic junction, where I did direct myofascial release for the right torticollis and transition into the C-shaped dextroscoliosis. I also did direct myofascial release to the to her inhaled thorax. So the way that I did this is I got the full surface area of her thorax and I compressed to the end of exhalation, held it, and then I did a rebound inhalation technique where I released her suddenly. She took a deep breath. Next thing you know, we have a bendy, compliant rib cage with full excursion. Then I did condylar decompression and finished with an intraoral technique where I put gloves on and with my pinkies did direct myofascial release to the base of her tongue on both sides. So now this is a happy baby. Right after treatment, I handed the baby back to her mother, and the mother had tears in her eyes. She's like, "Wow, what a cuddly baby." And then she proceeded to nurse. We noticed that there was immediately a decrease in the clucking sound, and there was no longer milk dribbling down to her chin. And mother also noted that before she used to have to angle the baby to bring the mouth to her nipple because the baby was so stiff. Now the baby had enough mobility that she could bring her own head towards the nipple. So decreased hypertonicity, decreased guarding, decreased irritability, just an overall happier baby. So post-treatment, that night, the mother said, tonight was the first time since she was born that I was able to put her down long enough to read a magazine and have a bowl of ice cream. Thank you so much. And recently she wrote, all the crying truly calmed, and her latch is significantly improved. vertebrae in your abdomen is nice and soft. So when you treat a baby, not only do you treat the baby, you treat the entire family, and it improves their entire quality of life. And I was grateful to be able to treat this child. And these are my references. Thank you.